The digital world moves fast, but real growth comes from real conversations. This is e-Coffee with Experts, where marketers and founders share what's actually working in SEO, AI, and digital growth. Grab your coffee and fuel your mind as we chat with top minds about their wins, struggles, and lessons you won't find in a blog post. Brought to you by Digital Web Solutions, we bring real talk to help you grow your business, one episode at a time. Let's get started.
Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to your show, E-Coffee with Experts. This is your host, Ranmay here. And today we have Ryan Ward, who is the co-founder of Rex Marketing and CX with us. Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
Going good. How are you doing today?
Lovely. Been a bright morning, so can't really complain. Ryan, before we move any forward, let's get to know a bit about your journey thus far. How were you growing up as a child? How come in the SEO digital marketing space? And also a bit about your agency, in terms of what you guys do, what you guys specialize in, and we will take it forward from there on.
Yeah, that sounds good. So just a little bit about me. So I come from a growth marketing background. Before co-founding Rex Marketing CX, I was the head of growth marketing at a telehealth mental health company. I was there for a handful of years, expanded the company. When I first joined the team, they were early stage startup, just offering services remotely across New York State in the US. And then post my time there, we expanded across all 50 states, more than 4x our provider base, reach clients through SEO, content strategy, paid. But really, I led all of our marketing strategy there. I operated as a very small marketing department. But from there, post my time at this telehealth company, the way the model worked is the company was a marketplace. Part of my role involved generating therapist growth, so bringing on more therapists to the marketplace, while also generating client demand for individuals across the US to come and work with these therapists who are joining the marketplace. So that being said, I was able to work very closely with hundreds of therapists across the US and also other clinicians who are starting mental health companies or telehealth startups. And during those conversations, I really noticed that a lot of these clinicians are extremely skilled in the clinical work and the work they do with their clients or in their clinical expertise, like with their startups, but they don't necessarily have the training or knowledge from a marketing perspective on how to grow their businesses, grow these practices, grow their companies. Definitely saw a need there to fit in and provide those services to those clinicians specifically and into that space. So fast forward, we launched Rex Marketing CX, and we focused in the areas of organic growth, pertaining to SEO strategy, content strategy, paid strategy. So whether that be search, social, all of the above, and then also web development design. So helping individuals with conversion rate optimization, UX design of their products, websites, etc., in the healthcare space. The vast majority of our clients are in that mental health care space, just given our in that industry. But we work with other healthcare companies too outside of the mental health care space. But really our expertise is in that healthcare industry, specifically also telehealth. So whether it be startups who are offering services remotely to potential clients in the US or globally, or whether it be like a smaller practice or clinician who's offering their services remotely. But anyway, that's basically how we got to where we are today.
Lovely, quite a story. And like we were discussing earlier, you have a solid network, so getting clients early in the day at your agency was not really a difficult task. But starting an agency, your entrepreneurial journey has its own challenges. So if I were to ask you, what was the hardest part about launching a marketing agency that most people would not realize? This is for our listeners who are trying to start a digital marketing agency.
As you said, like I've been in this space for a while. So when it came to getting started, we had individuals who were ready to work with us as soon as we launched and were wanting to work with our agency. So that wasn't an issue for us. I'd say the biggest problem I shouldn't say problem, but the biggest, I'd say, learning curve that we had to do is, first off, I come from a startup space, tech space. I've been, head of growth at a couple tech companies, but in that moving into a service-based was something that was newer for me. So that was a big learning curve. First off, understanding operationally, how should we approach providing services? How should we approach packaging? How should we approach just like more of the operational things related to being a service-based company? Because I come from product-based offerings, more of that tech space, software, that type of work. So I'd say that was the biggest learning curve for me. Moving into the agency space would be understanding just the ins and outs, intricacies, operationally, how we should grow this service-based business. So yeah, that's what I'd probably say.
Lovely. And you have been instrumental in driving 8x organic growth, in various roles. So what is the secret sauce, Ryan?
Yeah. So I'd say that when it comes to, obviously depends on the product, the industry, the space. But I'd say that what it really comes down to is understanding what your end user is when it comes to organic growth. What is your user searching for organically? So really putting yourself, I like to say, like putting on your empath hat for when you're thinking about this, understanding what is our user searching for, what are they engaging with, what kind of content would they be looking for on the internet in a search, etc. Once you kind of start there as a starting place, you then move into like keywords, understanding to like what keywords do we find opportunity for us to start ranking for. I'd say too, whenever you like, especially since I come from early stage companies, you're going against behemoths in the space at times who have extremely strong domain authority. They've been around for years. If you're an early stage startup, one of the problems can often be getting the visibility. If you're brand new, your domain's brand new, you're just getting started. So the biggest thing I'd say is looking to find keyword opportunities that whether it be competitors have overlooked, or maybe a competitor has overlooked a keyword opportunity or is not performing as well as they could be in a keyword opportunity. Trying to find those like I'd say like diamonds that are hidden in that and trying to content for those keyword searches.
Low-hanging fruits, basically, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's obviously not easy, especially with a startup. If it was easy, every startup would be doing well and growing organically and so on and so forth. So yeah, it really is, I'd say, trying to find those opportunities. Some early techniques that I utilize when moving into a company is making sure you've built out feature pages, industry specific pages, product pages. Often when I step into a new role at a startup, I often will see like, well, they haven't actually addressed product features or features for their product, or they haven't addressed their industries or use cases. These are just all very easy opportunities to create landing pages for your website that are often overlooked by early companies. And then when it comes to content, looking at content strategy, really it's a matter of finding those opportunities and also being consistent with your posting schedule, consistent with the volume you're trying to produce. That's a lot of information, but that's how I typically approach organic growth, thinking about it strategically from a keyword opportunity, and then looking at these early quick wins, these simple landing pages for your website, or addressing this content creation.
Lovely. And you have excelled in both SEO and SEM, organic and paid. What is the biggest misconception, businesses have when it comes to choosing between the two?
Yeah, great question. So I definitely don't think you should choose between the two. Like I think that any sort of holistic marketing strategy for a company utilizes both to an extent. The way I like to describe it is that SEM can be a place for quick wins. Obviously, as we all know, with paid, you put money into it, you create your ad copy, you create your targeting strategy, so on and so forth, and then your ads are shown at the top. You're getting the visibility, you're getting the awareness, you're getting eyeballs to see your brand and click and engage with your brand. Obviously, there's a lot of value behind that. There's a lot of opportunity behind that. However, if you invest all of your time and effort into, say, SEM, as soon as that strategy, for example, I can speak from an anecdote. At one of my previous companies, where we focused heavily on SEM, got to a place where, as a company, they had not focused on SEO growth and organic growth. So I like to say it was kind of like golden handcuffs, where if we stopped putting money into SEO and into pay, results dwindled. We were not driving those results. And as a result, as the company was trying to grow, we were just having to put more money in, more money in, more money in, and you get stuck. You get to a place where you're tied to your paid strategy if you've not focused on the organic side of things as well. So it's important to have the balance. Obviously, with SEO, especially if you're just getting started, it can be a slow burn to see results, especially if you're just starting to prioritize. However, I like to describe it as real estate, so to speak. SEO strategy is helping you establish long-term property or real estate on the internet that obviously you want to make sure you're keeping your content up to date, keeping your website up to date, optimizing content on a regular basis, so on and so forth. But once you start ranking for keywords organically, it's really one of those things where those rankings aren't necessarily going to be going anywhere. Obviously, you want to keep those things up to date, but you are establishing these footholds in the organic space. Whereas with paid, as soon as you stop putting money into it, it's gone. It's that whole, you're not getting results from it any further. So definitely need a balance between it.
Absolutely. And talking about it, companies investing. So many companies invest in content marketing without seeing returns. And from a business standpoint, they would always want their phones ringing. I mean, that's the end result. That's the end goal for them, right? So what is the single most overlooked metric when it comes to content strategy and revenue growth?
Yeah. So I'd say that the biggest issue I see, especially when I'm working with companies and clients, is they have maybe invested in content strategy, invested in content marketing, and you have a meeting with them and you ask them, okay, what is your conversion rate for your content? What's your average conversion rate for your content? Often I'll get a blank stare, or we don't know. We're not tracking that. We don't know how to track that. At the end of the day, especially again, I'm saying all this in the context of early stage companies. With early stage companies, you don't have the luxury of time most of the time. You have limited resources, limited funding, and you're working at a fast pace to try to scale the company to keep things going. That being said, you don't have the luxury of being able to not tie something to revenue. Everything that you're doing, every action activity that you're doing at an early stage company should be related to conversion, revenue, whatever your end goal is for your product or your services, whether it be a booking, whether it be a demo, whether it be a purchase. So that being said, if you're investing time, money, resources into your content strategy, you should have a solid understanding on how those pieces of content are converting. Really, especially in the early days, I like to focus on high intent transactional content. So really trying to create content that's driving our end user to our website organically. And that trying to drive someone who's going to engage with our services. That's kind of like what you should be focused on in the early days, especially as you're getting things started, in my opinion. And if you don't have a solid understanding of how many conversions have come through organically to our blog or to these blog posts or etc., then you really can't put an ROI to the time and investment that you've put towards content. So I'd say that that's like golden thing to be looking at when it comes to content strategy is understand that conversion rate for your content.
Absolutely, very valid point there. And Brian, I mean, you have been in the space for quite some time, must have had dealt with quite a few clients, and would have had some lovely experiences. But give us your favorite client story.
Yeah, good question. So I'd say that probably one of my favorite client stories is actually I'd say when it comes to, we work with a telehealth company. They're a telehealth startup, not in the mental health space directly, but they're in the cognitive health space related to dementia care for geriatrics in the US. So that being said, early stage company, early stage startup, they've raised, but they're still early. One of the best experiences was when they came to us and were like, hey, we want to start prioritizing SEO, start prioritizing paid. So that's kind of how we started this relationship. And they had basically been looking to pivot the company. The CEO had, long story short, they've been working on something for a while. We're not having as much traction as they want. They had something good, but they needed to pivot to try to validate a new direction to start generating investment and show to their investors that, hey, this is a viable company and etc. And one of the best feelings is whenever we start working with them, start prioritizing SEO and paid for this new direction, and really started to drive conversions, drive interest for this new direction of the company, which in turn led to positive engagement from their investors, led to them furthering and going further and raising additional funds for the company. So it was one of those things where like, the company was in a bad spot. They were really needing outside investment, and the work we did helped them get to that next stage, helped them validate that new business direction, and ultimately, led to the company continuing. Without that validation of the pivot, who's to say if the company would still be functioning as it is now. So I'd say that was that's probably a pretty positive experience. It's always nice to, like, me and the CEO have had a good relationship through working together. And it's always nice to, as an entrepreneur, to know that you've helped a fellow entrepreneur continue to grow and keep their business going. So it's always a nice feeling in that regard.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, quite a story. Great, yeah, Ryan. This has been a brilliant conversation, but before we let you go, I would like to play a quick rapid fire with you. I hope you're game for it.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Your favorite sport?
Football.
Okay, which team do you follow then?
UT. So I follow college football, and so I
Okay.
went to University of Texas. So Longhorns, hook 'em.
All right. Your last Google search?
Last Google search probably was related to be honest, probably was related to a help document, like for a client. Often, like
Okay.
whenever I'm sending over help docs to a client or something like that. Probably was the most recent search I did.
Okay. What did you do with your first paycheck, Ryan? First paycheck of your life?
First paycheck of my life. Wow, that's a good question. I think that probably I worked in high school and probably went out to the movies with my friends or something like that with my first paycheck.
And what is something that you would like to change in your agency which you feel that you have not been able to do so far in your business as the founder?
Yeah, good questions. I'd say the number thing I want to change is learning to let go more and
Yeah.
delegate. Yeah, I'm definitely a control freak and keep a tight rein on a lot of things, and definitely need to
Yeah.
work on taking a step back some.
We can talk about that and in length after this. Okay, the last one will not drill you any further. Ryan, where do we find you on Friday evenings after helping optimize your clients?
Yeah, good question. So recently, my friends and I, we get together on Fridays and watch Severance. If you've heard of it, the Apple TV show.
Yeah.
So we have a watch party that we go to and watch that. So usually with friends, or right now, I've been watching lots of Severance.
All right, lovely. Thank you so much, Ryan, for doing this with us. It has been a great session. Really enjoyed it, and I'm sure our audience would have as well. Cheers, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks so much.